So today we are going to discuss about SAP Analytics Cloud. Okay, so from this is the first session. From today onwards, so we can explore each and every topic in this SAC one by one, technical point of view. Okay, so what is SAP Analytics Cloud? So SAP Analytics Cloud is a single cloud-based solution for business intelligence. So mainly this SAC Cloud is a reporting tool. Okay, it is a single cloud-based solution for business intelligence and enterprise planning and predictive analytics. It means in this SAC we can do reporting, we can do planning, and we can do predictive analytics also. Okay, so three components are included here. So reporting means like it is a replica of, instead of using, analysis office, we can do whatever reporting we are doing in Evo. All those BEX queries can be consumed in this SAC. Okay. And whatever here, we have planning enabled functionalities also enabled in this SAC. So when we logged, so for example, when you are want to practice SAC on your own, then what you can do, you can create your trial version. Okay, so SAP providing one trial based version also. Okay, either you can buy this SAC tool for 30 euros per month, or you can go for a free, trial version. So if you go for a trial version, initially it will give for 30 days, 30 days, and then later it will extend for 30 more days. Okay, around 2 months of free trial you may get. More nearly. Okay, so when you log into your SAC and SAC, so this is your initial screen. Okay, on the left hand side you have different options to explore. Okay, and here we have, this is the home button. Currently I am in the home button. So let's see one by one option. Okay, so if I go to file section, in the file section you can see like this. So in the file section what is happening is if you go to one minute. If you click on the my files, so the default section will come in this way. Okay, so in this public is the default folder. So public is a folder where for example this is a trial version, only you can access. Okay, but in real time you will get one URL which is for your client. So that URL can be used to by anyone from the across the project people. So where people will be logging to their own credentials. So when they log into their credentials, this public folder is shared between the users. So anyone log into that particular server can see this the models available under this public section. Okay, so you can create your own folders also here. So the see here there is a shared link. This shared link itself telling that this particular folder was shared by few of the people or all the people who are able to access to this tool. Okay, if you want to create a new folder, then you can go and create from here. And if you create a folder, in that folder you can create these many things. You can create a story, you can create analytical application, model, data set, other things. So from file section, you can explore to your content and you can create your own folders. You can share your, developments to the other people. Okay, and if you want to create a story, instead of going from file and go to your folder directly, you can do those things also. By clicking on the stories button, you can directly create a story here. While saving, it will ask you where you want to store your application, whatever you're designing. So like this, we can create stories, we can create analytical applications, we can create data sets, we can create models, data actions. You see, from data actions, allocations, value driven trace, predictive analytics, and multi actions. So these are all planning related topics. Okay, so when coming to only BW related reporting only, then mainly we will deal with the models. Okay, if we know how to create a model and dimension, then stories and all, if we know, that is sufficient for a BW developer. But for a planning developer, they need to know all the planning functionalities also. Okay, so let's go for next thing. So this is a SAC tool, which is a cloud-based tool, which will so this tool must get data from some sources. Okay, so where I can see that there is a tab called connections. In these connections, we will define the source connections, source system connections. So if you go to connection tab, here there is a one plus symbol. Okay, add connection. So base system are people who are having access to the bases, all the system, those can create connections here. So you must have some rights to create some connections. Okay, so there are two types of connections. One is live data connection, another one is acquire data connection. Okay, so what is the difference between live data connection and acquire data connection? Okay, live data connection means on the fly it will fetch data from your on-premise systems. Like for example, you have a SAP BW system server, so you can connect, you can create a connection to your SAP BW server. So at the time of your executing the report, it will go to this server and fetch data from there and shows on your screen. So this is kind of live data connection. Okay, it means on the fly it will fetch data from your server into your SAC cloud system. And the other type of connection is acquire data connection. So what is this one means? Acquire data means we are fetching data from the server and storing in the cloud database. Okay, you are fetching data from the server and storing on the cloud database, and on the stored data you are doing reporting. When coming to live data connection, it is currently supporting to SAP BW, Data Warehouse Cloud, SAP HANA. Okay, so these three and these are the different kind of live data connections currently that are available. Okay, BPC, S4 HANA and Universal Web Document. When coming to acquire data, it supports many number of other tools like big data, OData services, Google BigQuery, Google Drive, Box, Insight, many are there. Many sources are available when go for acquire data connection. But when goes to live data connection, it supports only few type of connections only. Okay, for example, if I select SAP BW, then what will happen? It will ask me to provide name, host name, everything you need to provide. Okay, this will be taken care by security team or basis team to enable the connections. We will discuss only what kind of connections are there. As it was a trial version system, I currently always do flat file data loads and show you creating models and stories on top of it to learn the other contents. So this is all about connections. Okay, so far we covered about file section, what will be there here, and the connections tab. And the next one is security. Security we are not going to cover here, but and from security users we can handle users roles and authorizations and everything. From here we can do this. And content network. So what is content network? How in SAP BW we have a content, standard content given by SAP system, correct? In the same way, if you want to learn SAC different contents, so you can go to this content network and get some sample dashboards from here. So by exploring those sample dashboards, you can learn SAC on your own. Okay, you see samples, business content, third party business content. So if I go to samples, here those you can find some SAP given some sample dashboards. You can download those sample dashboards into your workspace and you can use it. For example, if I take anything, my team dashboard. So don't overwrite objects or data. So my team dashboard is a new operational people, it is saying something about this dashboard. It contains employee data, leaves up something. Okay, if you click on import button, has started. So yeah, it was started, import job, my team dashboard. So where I can find this, my team dashboard now, if I go to my file section, samples, let's see under this. Maybe it is still running. Importing my team dashboard, it is still in progress. It is not yet completed. So once completed, then I will show you like how we can see it here and how to explore this business content. Let's wait for some time. In the meantime, let's go into further. So for example, for our training purpose, what I did, I created a folder SAC training, and in this we are going to learn few things. Okay, so and just a second. So next what we are going, so still this import is still running, so let it be, we will see it at the end. And now next point is I created a folder, right? In this folder now we are going to create our own things. Now let's go for it to some terminology. Okay, how for a BW consultant, so in that in that point of view I will let you know how exactly you need to understand this SAC. Okay, in BW terminology, I, I will go for a little bit generalized also. Okay, so for example, in BW, we have info objects. Okay, and we have providers, which is nothing but DSOs or cubes providers, right? So in the same way, this is a BW kind. BW. So when coming to this SAC tool, in SAC, info objects are called as dimensions. Okay, providers are called as models. Okay, in SAC terminology, info objects are a little bit similar to dimensions, and providers in BW terminology are a little bit models. Okay, if we go to generalized, not BW terminology, if we go to generalized, then tables can be called as models here. Okay, and in master data, to store master data, we use dimensions. So to store tables or transactional data, I can say instead of transactional data. For storing transactional data, we use models in SAC tool. Okay, let's say one example. Let's take material. Material is a master data. So if you want to store this material information in SAC, then you need to create one dimension called material dimension. Okay, and if when coming to BW terminology, material is a master data. So a master data can contains multiple attributes. So what are those attributes? Material group, material type, correct? So this is the master data and these are attributes of it. In SAC terminology, material is a dimension. Okay, and if you want to add these two, you can add these two to this material dimension, and we call them as properties. Okay, in these two are attributes in BW side, and in SAC side the same terminology can just simply change it to properties. So material acts as a dimension, and in the dimension you can add multiple properties. Okay, and you can call, for example, in material master data, for example, you have M1, M2, M3 are the data, means what you can say, these are like data, material master data, these are the rows in the material master data. In SAC, these kind of data can be called as members. In SAC, if you have M1, M2, M3, then we call this M1, M2, M3 as members of this material master data. M1 is a member of material master data, M2 is a member, M3 is a member. Coming to BW terminology, M1, M2, M3, simply we call them as a master data information of this material master. Okay, so in SAC terminology, what are the terminology we learned so far? We learned about what is a dimension is. Okay, what is a property means, property of a dimension, and what is a member of a dimension. This is important when you're talking in SAC terminology. So when a user asks to create, when you have a requirement to create a property, it means you are trying to add a member to the existing dimension. And when someone asking you to create a member, it means they are asking you to create one extra row, extra master data record in the dimension. Okay, so this is the very important to remember. So now let's see. Okay, the next thing is model. So like I will give some model. So when coming to model, so let's go for BW first. In BW, providers means nothing but DSOs and cubes. Okay, so to store the transactional data, we use it. But when we creating a DSO, generally like info object based DSO, so we need info objects to create a DSO, correct? In the same way, by using dimensions, we can create a model in SAC. Okay, by using dimensions, we can create a model in SAC. At the same way, it is not mandatory to create dimensions first and then go for model. You can directly create model on the fly dimensions also. Okay, so it means there are two kinds of dimensions. One is public dimension. Okay, the other one is private to model. It means which is available within the model. So simply if we compare with our BW, info object based modeling, field based modeling. Info object based modeling means you are creating an info object which is accessible throughout the system anywhere. Means we can use the same info object in multiple providers. But when you go to field based modeling, the field is available within the DSO only, correct? In the same way, private to model dimensions are only available within that model only, not at all accessible to outside world. But if you create a public dimension and then using in a model, then it can be the same dimension can be accessible by a number of models. Okay, so this is a simple comparison between BW to SAC tool. Okay, so if we say alone, if we talk about only SAC, people who don't know BW, then how we can explore this? We have two kind of generally as a basic, we have two types of the you can say objects here, main objects. One is dimension, another one is model. So dimension is used to store the master data and models are used to store the transactional data. Okay, so when you go to master data can contains properties. Like a material is a master data which contains properties called material group, material type, and base unit, so on. So all these material group, material type and base unit, those can be called as properties for the dimension. Okay, and when coming to maintaining master data, the data in the master data can be called as members of the master data. Okay, and when we create a model which is to store transactional data, we can create based upon the public dimensions or private to model dimensions. So let's explore this a little bit in the tool. So where I can create dimension. To create a dimension or a model, always you need to go for creating a model only. So click on this plus symbol, go to create a model. You don't have option to explicitly create the dimension. Go to model creation. In the model creation, you have an option to create public dimensions. Okay, so welcome to modeler, prepare your raw data using structured view, something like this. Okay, when you're trying to create a model, there itself you have an option to create a public dimension also. Okay, and when you're creating a model, you can create as a blank model, import from CSV or live data model or data source. So simple, this is to understand this concept. So when we're creating any BW object, we provide some templates or reference info object, like template, let's say template only. So if you want to create by using CSV, live data model is nothing but template. So whatever model you are trying to consume here in that structure, your model is going to create if you are using live data model. If you are creating the model from a CSV file, then from the CSV file you can use that structure to create your model. Okay, first of all, let's go to dimensions, because dimension is the base. First we need to learn about dimension. So how to create a dimension? By going into public dimensions, you can create new dimension. So whatever you created the dimensions here, it is itself telling public. These dimensions can be seen by anyone. They can also consume your dimensions if required until next is the authorization part, later part, but like this general description I'm telling. So how to create a dimension? Click on the dimension symbol, create dimension. So when you're creating a dimension, you need to specify the type of the dimension. There are three different types are there: generic, organization, account dimension. Okay, account dimension is only for the key figures. If you are creating a net sales, amount, quantity, percentage, like of numerical fields, those goes under account dimension. All other characteristic fields goes either under generic dimension or organization dimension based upon your field properties. Okay, so material is not an organization dimension definitely, so I'm going for a generic dimension. Okay, Let me cancel this one, and let me delete these two which I created for testing, and let recreate. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new dimension of type generic type, and my dimension name is DS. I'm giving my own naming convention DS to explicitly filter my objects. So DS underscore material. I'm giving the description of this dimension as material. And when creating this dimension, it is asking enable data access control, means people some authorization kind of point of view, hide hierarchy nodes for users without authorization. So this is also to create for hierarchy and authorization concept, enable responsibility, enable currency. If you are creating, these are if you are create for company code. So enable currency is, so from based upon your company code, if you want to define the currency of the particular transactional data, then we go this kind of options. But we are creating currently material master data, so which is only giving these two are enough so far, DS material and material. Click on create. You see, now this is the screen to create a dimension. So now what I got here, this is the technical name of it. Okay, member ID description. I told you, right, each data can be called as members in the dimension. So here it is, that's why member ID description. In material master data, material is the key, so that's why member ID and the corresponding description column here. Okay, so now I am storing here M1 material 1. So I am inserting master data into my dimension. What I am doing is I am inserting members in SAC terminology. In BW terminology, I am inserting text master data into my dimension. Okay, so I maintained two members in my dimension, manually maintained. Okay, and clicking on save. When you click on save, what is happening here? The data is saving into the dimension. The dimension is saved successfully. A dimension got created and data also got stored. When you come to this detail section on the right hand side, by clicking on the detail section, it will be toggle on and off. Okay, like this. So here it is telling DS material is of public dimension of type generic. This is the technical name. This is the description. Okay, and there are some access controls here which we can learn later point, not at this point. And if you want to create hierarchies on the members what you have, you can create hierarchy. Like in BW also we can create hierarchies, right? In the same way here also we can create some hierarchies. Okay, next one is properties. Okay, when coming to properties, I told you, right? So what are the properties? Attributes of a info object master data in BW. In the same way here we have properties. So when compared to my example here, I can add material group, material type as properties to my master data. So I maintain like this, right? So let me try to create one property here. Click on plus symbol. So asking for property, material type, MAT underscore TYP, material type, or else let me create material group, material group, material group. And type of this one, is it a text type, decimal or integer? For example, weight. I am creating, weight is a property of a material only. When I am creating a weight, I need to give here integer or decimal. Here it is material group, right? So it is kind of text property. So that's why I'm giving text here. Okay, click on create. So now it created one extra member to property to my dimension. Okay, and below you see used in. So if this public dimension was used in any of the other models, you can see that information here. Now since I added a new property, let me click on save. Now one more option to explore here is workspace. In this workspace, currently you are in the dimension workspace. Okay, when you have here, you see one more thing, data management, dimension, data management. So dimension means it will show you the dimension along with the properties. If you go for data management, it will help you to load data into this dimension. If you want to upload some master data via flat file, then you can do it here. Okay, or from other connections also you can, you see, from file or a data source. Data source means either user acquiring, yeah, I can see only all the acquire type of connections here. There is no live data connection here for the dimension. Only acquire connections are showing here. Okay, so now what I am going to do, let's go for here dimension first. In the dimension view, here I can see member ID, material, description, and the material group, whichever property I added recently. So here I want to maintain one property MG1 material group 1, and for this one material group 2. Okay, click on save so that you are storing your data into your dimension. Okay, for example, so far we did everything manually. Now let's try to upload some master, more number of records into this dimension via flat file. So for this, what we need to go, we need to create one flat file like this. So material, description, material group, already I added these two, but no problem, we can give one more time also, it will overwrite. So M4 material 4, let me take at least 10 records here. And MG1, MG2, MG3, MG1. Okay, like this material groups are there. Now click on save. I am trying to save this file as a CSV file. Okay, it's always better to load via CSV file instead of. So now I want to upload the file into my dimension. How I can upload it? So by going into this, data management and going to this, file import data, file, select data source, my material master 2, open. It is a CSV delimiter. It is already auto detected. I am okay fine with that. Import. So after importing, it will show you the file information here, and it will map to our dimensions, and we need to confirm whether mapping was correct or not. Okay, so you see here, these are the 10 records coming from the material master data from our flat file, and these are the 3 columns in our dimension and the member, and it is telling by selecting each column we can say whether it is properly mapped or not. Okay, so material, this is fine, description also properly mapped, material also it's also properly mapped. Okay, so everything is fine. Now click on finish mapping. If you feel like whatever data you are seeing under each column, if it is correct, then you can click on finish mapping. Finish. Then when you click on finish mapping, it will try to load the data into your dimension. See, now select this source, refresh it, started. So now it is starting. Whenever you select this checkbox, it is starting importing data into your dimension. 10 rows imported. Now if you go for again dimension view here, then you can see those 10 fields here. You see all the data got created here. And if you want to create hierarchies on top of it, parent-child hierarchy, label-based hierarchy, 2 kind of hierarchies are there. You can create those 2. Okay, later we can see how to create these and these hierarchies here. But at this point of time, as it was a first session, so far what we covered, covered about tool, little bit exploration on the tool, and then how to create a dimension, how to insert members in it, how to create properties of a dimension, how to upload data from a flat file into your dimension. So far we covered till this point. Okay,